When some companies look to use AI, they look at this first. They start by asking, what's the most impressive thing this tool can do? But that's usually the wrong question. The better question is, what repeatable work is consuming time every week, creating bottlenecks and still easy for a human to review? But that's where Claude Cowork becomes useful. Not because it replaces judgment, not because it magically understands your business, but because it can take the assembly work, the compiling, sorting, summarizing, formatting, and follow-up, and turn it into a finished draft that a human can verify. In this video, I'm going to walk through the first 5 Claude Cowork workflows that every business should consider automating. And I'm choosing these 5 for a reason. They're practical, repeatable, measurable, and safer starting points for medium to large-sized businesses. Before we jump into the 5 workflows, here's the rule. Your first Cowork workflows should have 3 qualities. First, they should be high volume. If the task only happens once a quarter, it may not be the best place to start. Second, they should require low to moderate judgment. Claude can help with analysis, but your first workflow should not depend on sensitive decisions, legal conclusions, regulatory interpretation, or final business approval. Third, they should be easy to verify. A person should be able to look at the output and quickly decide whether it's accurate, complete, and ready to use. That combination matters. High volume gives you measurable time savings. Low judgment keeps the risk manageable. Easy verification keeps the human in control. So, with that lens, here are the first 5 workflows I would automate. Workflow number 1 is weekly status reporting. This is one of the best early use cases because almost every organization has some version of it. A manager needs updates from multiple people. A project lead needs numbers from different places. An operations director needs a report by Monday afternoon. A department head needs a clean executive summary before the leadership meeting. The work is important, but the process is usually tedious. Someone has to gather the updates, compare them against last week's, find the missing items, format the report, and highlight the risk. That's exactly the kind of assembly work that Claude Cowork was built for. A strong Cowork task might sound like this. Review the project update emails, the shared team notes, and the status spreadsheet. Create this week's status report using the standard template. Include completed work, open risk, blockers, decisions needed, and next steps. Save the draft in the weekly reports folder. The key word is draft. Claude can assemble the report, but the manager still verifies it. The human checks the numbers, confirms the risk, and decides what gets escalated. For executives, this workflow matters because it reduces reporting friction. For practitioners, it matters because it removes a weekly scramble. And from an implementation standpoint, it is measurable. You can track how long the report used to take, how long the Cowork assisted version takes, and how much a rework is required. That makes it a strong pilot workflow. Workflow number 2 is file cleanup and document organization. This isn't glamorous, but it's one of the fastest ways to show value. Most organizations have shared drives, project folders, client folders, training folders, policy folders, or department repositories that are simply a mess. Duplicate files, old versions, inconsistent naming conventions, documents saved in the wrong place, files named final, final revised, and final revised. No one wants to clean it up, but everyone pays the price when they cannot find the right file. Claude Cowork can help by reviewing a folder, identifying patterns, proposing a naming convention, grouping related files, flagging duplicates, and creating a cleaner structure. The important part is permission and review. Don't start by telling Cowork to delete files across the shared drive. That's too aggressive for an early workflow. Start with a copy of a folder. Ask it to propose a structure first. Then ask it to create a draft reorganization plan. Then allow it to rename, move, or archive files only after review. A strong task might be review this project folder and create a proposed folder structure. Identify duplicates, outdated versions, unclear file names, and files that need human review. Do not delete anything. Create a cleanup report first. That gives you value without reckless automation. This is a great practitioner workflow because it solves a real pain point. It's also useful for executives because poor information management quietly wastes time across the entire organization. Workflow number 3 is research and briefing summaries. This is where Claude Cowork becomes especially useful for managers, analysts, sales teams, strategy teams, and executives. Businesses constantly need research, but the research process is usually fragmented. A leader wants to understand a vendor. A team needs a competitor summary. A manager needs backgrounds before a client meeting. An analyst needs to pull themes from several reports. A learning leader needs a summary of regulatory changes or industry trends. The old workflow is manual. Search, read, copy notes, organize findings, create the brief, and format it for the audience. With Cowork, the workflow becomes more structured. You can give it a research question, approved sources, internal files, and a required output format. For example, review these vendor documents, the implementation notes, and the public product pages. Create a 2-page briefing for the leadership team. Include business fit, potential risk, open questions, and recommended follow-up items. Separate confirmed facts from assumptions. That last sentence matters. Separate confirmed facts from assumptions. When using AI for research, you don't want a confident summary that hides uncertainty. You want a briefing that makes uncertainty visible. This is a strong early workflow because the output is reviewable. A human can check the sources, verify the claims, and decide what belongs in the final briefing. For executives, this speeds up the decision preparation. For practitioners, it reduces the burden of turning scattered information into something usable. Workflow number 4 is meeting follow-up and action tracking. This is one of the biggest hidden productivity drains in medium and large corporations. The meeting happens, decisions are made, action items are mentioned, someone says I'll send a recap, and then the follow-up either takes too long, misses key details, or never happens. Claude Cowork can help turn meeting notes, transcripts, agendas, and related documents into structured follow-up. A practical task might be review the meeting notes and agenda, create a follow-up summary with decisions made, action items, owners, due dates, unresolved questions, and risk. Draft an email to attendees but do not send it. Save the action list to the projects folder. That workflow is powerful because it turns conversation into execution. The human still reviews the recap. The human confirms the owners and deadlines. The human decides whether the email is ready. But Claude does the first pass. This is also where connector permissions matter. If your organization enables approved connectors, Claude may be able to work with emails, calendars, documents, or project tools depending upon your setup and permissions. But the implementation should be intentional. For an early pilot, I would keep the scope simple. Create the follow-up, create the action list, and draft the communication. Avoid fully autonomous sending or external commitments until your governance model is mature. The goal is not to remove accountability. The goal is to make accountability easier to track. Workflow number 5 is content repurposing and internal communications. This is especially useful for marketing, communications, training, HR, enablement, and change management teams. Most businesses create valuable content once and then underuse it. A webinar becomes a recording no one watches. A policy update becomes a long PDF no one reads. A leadership message gets sent once and then disappears. A training guide sits in a folder instead of becoming job aids, FAQs, manager talking points, and reminder emails. Claude Cowork can convert one approved source into multiple useful formats. For example, use this approved implementation guide to create a manager briefing email, 5 internal announcement posts, a 1-page FAQ, and a short slide outline for a department meeting. Keep the tone professional. Do not add new claims and flag anything that needs human approval. This is a strong early workflow because it starts from approved content. You're not asking Claude to invent the message. You're asking it to adapt the message. That distinction matters. For executives, this improves communication consistency. For practitioners, it saves hours of reformatting and rewriting. For L&D and change teams, it can turn one source asset into a full rollout package. The risk control is simple. Use approved source material, require review, and prohibit new claims unless they're clearly flagged. That gives you speed without losing message discipline. So those are the 5 workflows that I would start with. Weekly status reporting, file cleanup and document organization, research and briefing summaries, meeting follow-up and action tracking, and content repurposing and internal communications. But here's the bigger point. Don't automate a workflow just because Claude can do it. Automate it because it has business value, because the risk is manageable, and because the output is easy to verify. A simple workflow selection matrix can help. In the top left, you have low value and low risk tasks. These are fine for practice, but they won't prove much. In the top right, you have high value and low risk tasks. That's your starting zone. In the bottom right, you have high value but high risk tasks. Those may be future candidates, but they need stronger governance, better monitoring, and clearer approval rules. And in the bottom left, you have low value and high risk tasks. Don't start there. For a business pilot, your goal is not to prove that AI can do everything. Your goal is to prove that Cowork can save time, reduce friction, and improve consistency on workflows that are safe enough to scale. That's how you build confidence. Just as important, let's talk about what not to automate first. Don't start with regulated decisions. Don't start with sensitive employee or customer data. Don't start with workflows that send external communications without review. Don't start with large-scale deletion, archiving, or permission changes. And don't start with anything where a bad output could create legal, financial, compliance, or reputational harm. Those workflows may become possible later, but they're not where most organizations should begin. Start with work that's tedious, repeatable, and reviewable. That's the green zone. And once your team understands how to describe the task, review the plan, verify the output, and document the result, then you can expand into more advanced workflows. If you need a practical place to start, I have a governance checklist available on my website, along with my implementation guide, Claude Cowork for the Modern Enterprise, and several other tools for implementing AI in the modern workplace. I'm also creating 2 SCORM courses, Enterprise Core Cowork Implementation and Master Cowork Implementations. Founder pricing is currently available for both individuals and companies. And if this video was useful, subscribe to the channel. In the next video, I'll go deeper into how to structure a Claude Cowork pilot for 10 to 25 users, including workflow selection, permissions, success matrix, and rollout planning. The future of work is not just in using AI, it's learning what to delegate, what to verify, and what should always remain a human decision.